Hello, I am Sheets, and today I'm going to be spilling the tea on how much we went over budget on our house. Okay, you guys, if you are new here, welcome, and be sure to like and subscribe. I put out new videos every Wednesday and a few others throughout the month, and I really talk about everything, do everything, vlog everything. And today we are going to be talking about house related stuff. So me and my husband just built a house, and when I was going through the house building process, I was really nervous about going over budget on it. You know, when you first sit down to sign the contract, it might say X amount of dollars, but that tends to not be the full total you end up paying 6 months later or however much longer until you get your house. And that unknown was so terrifying to me. So I'm making this video to help you guys if you ever build a house in the future. So we're gonna get real here. I'm gonna spill the tea, but I do want to preface a few things. So I do have my little notebook here that I'm gonna reference throughout the video. So I wanna get started, and I do want to say, for a frame of reference, this is a 1,200 square foot home with an unfinished basement. I don't know if that helps. In a mid-sized city. So we're not building in LA. We're not building in New York City. That would be crazy, and you will probably go way, way more over, I imagine. I just kind of want to give you that frame of reference on like the house size and all that. So hopefully that helps. If you have any more specific questions, feel free to reach out, leave a comment. I will get back to you. Okay, so we're gonna go over all the things we went over, and I'm gonna give you, some of them I'll give you like just the rounded number of what we went over, but yeah, we'll get to it. So there were two things that we went over, or that we had to pay, that were completely out of our control. So when you sit down to sign that contract, the builder will say the house costs $10, whatever. But oftentimes in that contract, there will be stipulations saying like if they need to bring in extra dirt, or if they need to bring in extra utility lines, or I even think now if lumber costs go up, you have to incur that cost. So there were two things. These were things that I was almost most nervous for because they're out of my control. And when we signed the contract, he didn't foresee us having any of these things, but we ended up having some. So utility line was one of them, which that one is still such a crazy one because our lot isn't that big, so that's why it's kind of shocking. But we had to pay $650 for an additional utility line. I don't know. And then we had to pay $300 for exporting dirt, which if I know what that means correctly, that means taking away dirt, and I feel like we need more dirt now. Oh my gosh, you guys, it's crazy. So those are the two things that like we could not control, we had to pay. Our builder would send us the invoice and we would just be like, okay, yeah, add it to the bill. So those were the things that we really couldn't control. So now let's get into the things we can control. And I'm gonna also show, hopefully while I'm talking, my editor, Wes, will like show kind of a visual of what I'm talking about when I'm talking about these. So the first thing was plumbing. So we went about $900 over on plumbing, and this was between like the fixtures, and the biggest part of that was we did add an additional toilet last minute to the basement. So random, we just have like a random toilet in the basement, but that was like $450 of it. So that was just kind of plumbing hardware and stuff like that, which is crazy because I really didn't choose that fancy of plumbing fixtures. I wanted even fancier than I got, but at the end of the day, I was like, who cares? This is easily changeable, I feel like, later. So I stuck with pretty basic, but that was $900. Next up is lighting. And there is a lot of lighting in a house that you have to go and choose. Lighting felt like it took like 3 hours. We ended up only going about a little under $200 on lighting. So I felt like that was pretty good because wow, like dining room chandeliers and such can cost a lot of money. Like it's crazy. But we went into the lighting store and we were pretty much like, this is our budget, we really want to stick to it. And so the lady really only showed us what was in our budget. So that was nice. So $175 on that, I felt like that was pretty good. Granite, which we had upgraded to granite in our contract already. So like we already knew it was gonna cost more money. I think like the contracted price included like linoleum or whatever that like plastic countertop is, but we knew we wanted granite. So we had already upgraded that. I think it costs like $3,500 maybe. But that, he said that that would be enough. However, it wasn't. It ended up being about $500 more. So we had to pay about $500 more for granite, which it is what it is. I'm happy with it, so that's that. Next up is appliances. We went over just over $100 on appliances, which I was so happy about. And we even got stainless steel. So I was really thrilled. I did ask my builder, I was like, does this allowance include stainless steel? And he said yes, for the most part. So, and I'm sorry, you guys, I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. I should have said this in the beginning. When we signed our contract, we did have allowances for most of these areas. Like for instance, and I've kind of mentioned this, I guess, but for lighting, let's say we had $500 budget. So when I say we went over $175 on lighting, that means we spent $675. So I hope that makes sense. If I'm being unclear, message me, I'll clear it up. But that's, we have, most of the time we have allowances for these things. For really everything, even the stuff I didn't go over, like we had an allowance. Like for instance, we didn't go over budget on our doors, which is because we literally probably had a budget of like $500 for our doors and we spent $500. You know what I mean? So that's that. Okay. Back to scheduled programming. Appliances. So yeah, we did get all stainless steel, which was super nice. Only went over 110, and that included, you know, a hood, dishwasher, stove. It would have been more if we would have gotten a gas stove, which we were teetering on, but we did end up going with just the flat top. I don't know what it's called, but yeah. So we got stainless steel, so for $100 over, I felt really good. Okay, next up is cabinets. We did go over about 200 on cabinets. And that was honestly probably mostly because we ended up painting them white, which is weird that white costs like $200 more. If we would have just stained them, it would have been in budget, if that makes sense. So that's that. And then we did go a little bit over on the cabinet hardware. So again, that's in that cost as well. And then the last one that we went over, which was the one that was making me the most anxious because we literally didn't find out the cost until like a month before we got our house, and that was flooring. We went $2,500 over on flooring. This was probably partly in terms because we ended up getting LVP put in our bedroom as well. If we would have done carpet, it probably would have been a little cheaper. We also upgraded our shower. We went with like to the ceiling tile in our shower, and so that's probably that. And I mean, flooring I just knew was probably gonna go over anyways, just with, you know, how much of it there is and all that. But at our like selection meeting, we did tell her, we were like, we really do want to stick to budget. So I was happy with the selections for the most part and the cost of them, but I think just with those upgrades and just with the sheer amount of everything, that's kind of where it is. Okay, I'm sorry, this next part's like confusing. I don't want to confuse you, but I'm trying to be real here. So lastly, I said lastly already, but we did go over on electric overages. So electric overages is really anytime you add additional outlets, anything over code requirements, basically. I mean, like on your finished level, everything's included, but then everything in like your basement's kind of additional. So we basically finished out our basement with all the lighting, which is not needed per code, and we added under counter lighting, which was an upgrade as well. So our electricity ended up being about $1,700 over, which is a lot, but again, most of it was from the basement and from the under cabinet, which if you do finish your basement more so than just framing, like I would probably suggest to go ahead and upgrade that lighting, just because it's very hard to do that later. Anyways, so that's that. So this is where it gets a little tricky. So technically, if you add up all of that, our overages, and again, I rounded this kind of, it was just over $7,000. So that's the magical number, right? But get this, you guys. We had a little incident where they put the wrong shingles on our roof. Okay? They put the wrong shingles on our roof. So we got a credit back for that. So when I discovered this issue, I basically went to my builder and he basically said they can replace it, or he can give me a credit for, I can't remember. I think it was like, oh, $3,000. That was the credit he was gonna give us for it. And so I was like, okay, but I do love a good bargain and a good like discussion here and there. I was very proud of myself when I did this. I basically cut back to him and give him a counter offer. I'm like, I'm really leaning towards replacing the roof because I really wanted the roof replaced. But I was like, can you give me better than $3,000? So he did. I actually think I might have said like 5,000 or maybe like 4,500, but instead he said 3,000 and I'll cover your electric overages, which was the 1,600 or 1,700, whatever I said. So it ended up being close to $5,000 of a credit essentially to not have to replace the roof. So that was like a huge win. And while it's, you know, a nice perk, it probably doesn't reflect for everyone. You know, I don't hope everyone's roof needs to be replaced, so that's why it's kind of funky. But yeah, so that was what was nice. It ended up working out. Do I still miss my roof color, what it should have been? Yes, but I'll take the $5,000, I guess. Okay, and then the one other thing we did get a credit for is we were supposed to have beams in our ceiling, but we ended up not, it just ended up not working out just with how the lights were put in, and the ceiling isn't vaulted, so I think it was just gonna kind of distract anyways. So we don't have those beams, so we did get a credit for that. So we got credits of essentially, I mean, almost 5,800, I guess, if you include, yeah, you know, all that stuff. So total, all in all, the true amount that we went over budget, like on our like mortgage essentially, like, cause we were at this amount and then we paid this amount, it was $1,600. Like, that's unheard of, you guys. $1,600, but that's the truth. That's how much we paid extra. I think my realtor said we win the prize for that. So that was really cool, and it felt really like accomplished to have done that. But I can't say that it's all because we were just so good at selections. Part of it was because there was just a mistake made, essentially. So I think the true reflection of the amount that we went over was that $7,000, which I think is a good, fair amount. I would say on a house similar to ours, assume $5,000 to $10,000 over, which is crazy still though, because I read a lot of reviews on people building houses, and some of them would say 20, 40, 50K over, which is like insane. However, I feel like sometimes those overages maybe are from pre-contract price. Like, for instance, we did upgrade and get a covered patio, and that was like $7,000, but that wasn't an overage because it was already in our contract, but we did upgrade that. So essentially maybe we did go over more, if that makes sense. And just like I mentioned with the Granite, you know, how it was like, we upgraded that for like $3,500, so that could be considered like, you know, more money going into it, but that wasn't a true overage. So there is kind of a distinction there I want you to be aware of, but hopefully you get it. So $1,600 over budget, but probably more like $7,000. So I hope that helps you guys. I know I was really curious about that. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm gonna be doing a lot more of these videos. I probably already have. So check out my channel, and if there are any more house related videos that you are interested, let me know. I might already have them going on, but you know, the more the merrier. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys next Wednesday. Bye.